Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you after a hiatus with one Adam Ship, my money share, as we get ready for opening day of the National Basketball Association. Adam, how have you been? I see you're taking down all these NFL tournaments since baseball's over.
Yeah, NFL's been treating me really nicely. I've really enjoyed that. Nice break from content and then just making a bunch of money on the weekends has been nice. But excited to get back to basketball. Excited to talk about what is normally my favorite DFS sport when football's not going this well. So yeah, I'm excited for the season.
All right, and our I just occurred to me our little Twitter side bet. I was looking at your Twitter account. For those of you that don't follow Adam, you really should. It's at Ship My Money DFS. You're up to like 9,600. I remember I said I was going to get to 10,000 first, and I did, and you were like 5,000 behind me, and I said you were going to get to 11,000 before I did. You're going to get to 11,000 before I do. I've got 10,600, but help out Adam. Jump on in there. Follow him on Twitter. You've had some interesting takes on the NFL, Adam. I never knew you followed it that close.
Yeah, I don't. I kind of just so my NFL takes, in all honesty, are just that most of the people that do NFL analysis are wrong. And if you just because I think that, and I don't even mean that in like a condescending way. I just mean it like you're dealing with an extremely small sample size. Then everyone has to give a take every week after every little thing happens. So if you kind of just take the opposite stance, you're going to be right basically as much as they are. And
Yep.
it makes for more entertainment.
It's the dirty little secret. It's like, we don't know what's going to happen. There are about 65 or 70 plays for each team on a day, and you have to hope that your thoughts work out compared to what actually does happen. So it's a lot of fun, but here we are in the NBA. So we've got two games, four teams, and these teams have completely changed since we last saw them tonight. So first off, 8 o'clock is the start of the slate, and then tomorrow we get a much bigger one, and we go into fine fashion here, and the grind begins for about 170 or so days. But we have the New Orleans Pelicans up in Toronto. Now, both of these teams lost keystone franchise players. One would say they didn't really lose Anthony Davis from the Pelicans because he did not play very much down the stretch. But Kawhi Leonard definitely left his mark in his season and a half there in Toronto, took the team all the way to the pinnacle. But we have major subtractions there. And then wait for it, where'd Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis go? Well, they went to LA respectively to the Clippers and the Lakers. So that's a massive impact for those teams. So we've got, we're just going to talk about each of the rosters here. We've got pricing across the board. We're going to, we'll hit everything. I've got the Yahoo Pricing up because they are the presenting sponsor of the Early Bird Podcast. So Yahoo's got some interesting tournaments up. They've got a management fee free one that looks like it's going to fill here pretty quick. So they're only running a $3 contest, 10 entry max, and it's 1,000 players can join in that. So they're going to run that for most of the season. But if you want to get in, you're going to have to get in early. But remember, the rest of their contests are usually in the 9 to 10% management fee range. So that's very solid. And the interesting thing about Yahoo is their unique pricing compared to the other sites. So you will often find players pop out in the player pool that you would not be considering on, say, a DraftKings or FanDuel, and that's where a lot of the content is geared for. So if you know what you're doing and you're savvy over there, you definitely have a fighting chance. And the other thing to remember is they have this massive season-long fantasy base, and they've been offering DFS for about 5 years now, but they have a lot more casual type players that come over, especially during football season. They want to try their hand at basketball because, hey, everybody wins at basketball. Am I right, Adam?
Yeah.
All right, let's start off.
Everyone's best sport.
Yes, everyone's best sport. Let's start off here with New Orleans. So some interesting ones that I noticed. So they now have Derek Favors. They have JJ Redick. So those are our new players from last year, and Lonzo Ball. So those are, again, I said they've really changed. They don't have Elfrid Payton. They don't have Anthony Davis, as we mentioned, etc. So talk to me here a little bit. You are a huge fan of Lonzo Ball. I know that. I'm actually I kind of like it when his dad's not talking a lot, and his dad hasn't really been talking a lot because all of a sudden he has another son that could be being drafted very high. So he's letting Lonzo kind of live his own life. What do you like here? What do you not like? I mean, Jrue Holiday point per dollar looks like one of the best plays on all of the sites tonight because he should just get all the usage he can handle. Let's start off with the backcourt here. What are your initial thoughts before we've seen any games?
Yeah, so first, kind of as like an overarching theme in this game, I think it's actually a really appealing DFS game overall. Vegas agrees that total's gone. It opened at 227.5. It's now at 231.5. But I wrote a DFS power rankings article last week, and it was kind of just a fun exercise to go through and kind of look at some different things for teams and try and guess which ones I thought were going to be the most appealing to roster players from this year. And I ended up with the Pelicans at 3, the Raptors at 4. And one of the big reasons was that Toronto, at least, obviously small sample size in the preseason, but they were playing much faster than league average. And it makes at least some sense when you don't have Kawhi there anymore. You don't have him. I think he was 8th in the NBA in ISO possessions per game, slowing down the offense a bit. So I would expect them to play faster this year. And then New Orleans has stated that they want to play as fast as they possibly can. And adding Lonzo Ball certainly helps with that. So I think that this game probably plays faster than what you would think of when you think of a Toronto game, looking back like to last season. So from that standpoint, I think it's an appealing game. And then on the New Orleans side, it is kind of nice because so many of these guys came over from the Lakers. At this point in the season, it's really, really difficult to, with a lot of confidence, to predict exactly how things are going to work out, per minute production and stuff like that with different matchups. But we do have, at least a couple hundred minutes for some of these guys playing together without LeBron or Kuzma or Rondo on the court. You had a little over a fantasy point per minute for Ingram last year. Lonzo Ball was at 0.8 fantasy points per minute. I think that probably goes up here. But those two guys I think are good plays. And then you mentioned Jrue Holiday, who the presence of Lonzo should really help him. He prefers playing off ball, and he'll have that opportunity now that they have a true point guard out there.
All right. Yeah, I didn't mention Brandon Ingram. He slipped my mind there. It's one of the, as you mentioned, a lot of the Laker guys coming across here. And then they've got Nick. I keep wanting to say, what am I mixing his
Mirotic.
name up? Bellinelli and Mirotic.
Yeah.
I'm doing some weird combination of that for Nicolo Melli. And then they have Nickeil Alexander Walker as well. And then you've got the Jahlil Okafor project. You've got Eton Moore. And then, theoretically, Kenrich Williams is in there. But for this one, it's going to be more of the starters. Now, is there any concern thus far about how much Derek Favors is going to be playing? I know he's been dealing with some, was it a hamstring or a back or so? He's been already sore thus far in the preseason.
There was a report that came out earlier, and I'll have to go back and double check it. But the main takeaway for me was that he's not supposed to be limited. And I take that to mean he's not likely to be limited more than they were already planning on limiting him. So I think somewhere around 28 to 30 minutes is my best guess right now.
Right. And of course, Zion Williams is going to miss close to 2 months. He had surgery, I believe it was today or yesterday on his, I think it was today on his meniscus, today being Monday as we record this. So that looks like he's going to miss a third or so of the season.
Melly at 3K is a really nice price tag.
Yeah, and I just flipped over here to the DraftKings because him coming in at 3K will give you a lot of wiggle room there for some of the other players, and it's not the worst punt. And the one thing, we're not going to be giving massive minutes to Derek Favors. He's not that guy anymore, and he hasn't been for several years, even in the Utah days. He is excellent point per minute, but he's best when he's in that 26 to 28 minute range.
Yeah, I think that, like, off their bench, Alexander Walker is the guy that I'm most intrigued by because he had a really good preseason. He has a chance to be a really good player. But from a DFS standpoint, we know that there are more minutes to go around in the front court right now. You don't expect, like you said, Favors to play a ton of minutes. So that opens up minutes there. Losing Zion opens up minutes there. So I think that it's not unreasonable at all to expect, mid 20s minutes, maybe 22 to 24 for Melly. And at 3K on a 2-game slate, I think that's really appealing.
Yeah. Yep, that's good call outs there. Last guy to mention is So Ingram is playing. He was the guy that had that weird thoracic neck thing, or
Yeah.
but that's not going to be an issue. That we're aware of. I'm assuming I didn't follow preseason. I've been playing DFS hockey, Adam, and I've been winning with the Awesemo projections and our content. So I did not follow preseason basketball at all this year.
Yeah,
But
no, Ingram's fine.
okay, that was just one thing that caught me off guard there. All right, so just looking at the other sites for intriguing pricing, I think that Holiday is going to be someone that's you're going to want to get on all three sites, particularly on Yahoo. Let me clear that filter, and because he is just a couple bucks more than Lou Williams, so he's coming in at 32, and I think that's a phenomenal price point over there. I think we're going to see a fair amount of overlap on some of the Yahoo contests because there's not as many players in our player pool for Tuesday night. Moving on to the Toronto side, the thing that really has blown my mind is Fred VanVleet, and we are going to be doing the Fred Van Elite Fan Club, Adam, once again. He actually is incredibly underpriced across the industry. He is one of the best point per dollars on, I've looked at 5 different projection systems today, and he comes up as basically the number 1 or the number 2 guy on all of them. He's going to have to play minutes now because it's him. It's, of course, Lowry. You've got Sergei Ibaka and Marc Gasol are each another year older. And this is looking like Pascal Siakam. So no Danny Green anymore. He's with the Lakers now. And then OG Anunoby and Storm and Norman Powell are really their only other guards. So VanVleet's going to get a lot of minutes. And I think we'll see his price catch up to him. But right now, it's not there.
Yeah, I think he's pretty clearly underpriced right now. Should get 32 to 34 minutes, probably somewhere in that range. Last year, he played 437 minutes alongside Kyle Lowry without Kawhi Leonard on the floor. 0.87 DraftKings points per minute, 16.3% usage percentage, 24.5% assist percentage. Perfectly fine numbers for a player getting getting as many minutes as we expect VanVleet to get. And then you factor in a favorable matchup as far as pace goes against the Pelicans. So I agree for probably the first time ever with you that VanVleet's a good play.
Well, see, now, just so people have some history, I never thought he was a good player. I just thought it was fun to say Fred Van Elite. And he was, an undrafted guy. Was he like a 4-year starter in college or whatever it was? So he was just a scrappy guy that sometimes got random run in that third guard spot there back when they had Lowry and DeRozan. And kind of, I like to call it the Lou Williams, when one of his many stops up in Toronto, he sort of created this third guard role, and VanVleet went into it. Well, it became kind of a running joke, and I had to play him, which was a mess. Now everybody's going to want to play him at least on opening night because it's just a bit of a mispricing. Make no mistake, you're not going to watch him play and think he's elite. But it's a good spot for this one. So how are you feeling about Pascal Siakam taking over a team? Because it's no more Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry. The miles are going up on the odometer there. He's been in the league for over a decade. What do you think about Siakam? Is he ready to take on this mantle? And is it going to be? It's going to be tough with him as the primary option. Lowry doesn't necessarily look to score. VanVleet doesn't necessarily look to score. Gasol and Ibaka don't necessarily look to score. Defenses are just going to key on him, aren't they?
Yeah, I think he'll be fine, though. He just does so much across the board. They've talked about him having a bigger role handling the ball this year, too, and I think he can handle that. He's a really, really good player. I think that, last year people started to pay attention to that, but I think it still kind of goes overlooked just how good Siakam is. I think that he takes another step forward this season. Last year, without Kawhi on the floor, with Lowry out there, he averaged 1.02 DraftKings points per minute, 21.3% usage rate, 13% assist percentage. Again, just kind of contributes in all areas, and the pace of this game should be really appealing for him.
So potentially other underlooked guys or overlooked guys, OG Anobi and Norman Powell are both minimum on Yahoo. If you can get a couple $10, like two $10 players, the world is your oyster over there. There are plenty of guys to spend on. If you want to work in LeBron and Davis onto the same lineup, you're going to need a couple of those guys. So they're calling out here. I'm guessing it's hard to tell rotations right off the bat, but just looking at the number of guys here, knowing that they won't run super deep, but they're not going to kill everybody the first night, I'm guessing those guys will be somewhere in that 26 to 28 minute range. Or do you think they'll go a little higher?
I could see it a little higher, like right around 30. But I mean, again,
Okay.
we're splitting hairs. We're guessing.
Yeah.
I think that they probably play enough minutes where they're unlikely to like be the guy that you have to win the slate, especially Anunoby, because he's just not usually that kind of guy. But it's enough minutes where at their cheap price tags, if you just take their not very good point per minute averages and apply it to that many minutes, you're still going to get a pretty solid value.
All right, let's move on to our game in LA. You've got the Lakers favored by 2.5. Technically, it is the Clippers season ticket holders that get to fill the Staples Center. But 225 over under here. The big news is going to be Anthony Davis. He is starting, and he and LeBron are going to be sharing ball handling duties. It's not, or offensive facilitation duties, because it's certainly not going to be Rajon Rondo or Avery Bradley. And then you've got Alex Caruso, or as we like to call him here at Osmo, Alex Caruso, because the resemblance is a little uncanny with one Alex Osmo Baker. I don't want to play any of the Lakers guards at this point. I'd rather go with the Toronto guys. But Davis and LeBron James, most projection systems have them as the two top raw point scoring players on the slate here. What do you think is going to happen with those guys on the court at the same time?
I think it's going to be pretty annoying from a DFS standpoint, most likely, because obviously both of those guys are just capable of taking over games. I think that, I mean, if I have to guess, my assumption is that LeBron will defer to Davis a bit more, especially in games that aren't, pivotal games. So if they're similarly priced, I would give the edge to Davis. But again, it's just, I think it's going to be a situation where they one or both any given night can obviously have monster games, but it's just going to be tough, to pinpoint when that's going to happen. But all things equal, I would give the edge to Anthony Davis just because, I think that LeBron's a little bit more willing to just be the guy, running the offense and passing a bit more. And then Davis obviously also gives you the rebounding upside, the block upside. So, yeah, all things equal, I would give an edge to Davis.
All right, and then moving here to, well, let's look at the wing players here. I can't say anything good about their guards. They're just not going to get enough minutes. LeBron's going to be handling the ball. I guess I'm counting Danny Green and Kentavious Caldwell Pope, depending on your side of choice. Shooting guard, small forward eligible. I think of those guys more of wings as anything else. They're okay. 14 and 13 on Yahoo respectively. Do you like the Lakers cheapies, or do you like the Toronto cheapies better? That's the appropriate response. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is, like, do I think one guy out of the Danny Green, KCP, Rondo group has a Bradley group has a good game? Yeah, probably. Do I have a strong take on who it's going to be? I don't. I think you probably get similar minutes from those guys. No, Kyle Kuzma does open up a little bit more minutes, but it's I really think from a DFS standpoint, the Lakers are for as much talent. For as much talent as they have, I think they're going to be a pretty annoying team for DFS just because, at the top, it's Davis and LeBron that can go off any given night. On the wings, you have so many interchangeable players based on who's shooting well or who they need out there for defense. I think it's going to be a team where, playing 150 lineups on this slate, I'm probably going to just be rotating through these guys and trying to catch, whichever one goes off. But I think that if you're someone playing like 3 max tournaments or single entry or just hand building a couple of lineups, it's just a team where it's going to be really, really difficult night in and night out to be right very often.
All right. And then the centers. So we've got, oh, why am I?
JaVale and Howard.
Yeah, who's hurt? The guy who's
Cousin.
Yes, thank you. So one, you and I are both Wizards fans. You being in Baltimore, and me being a transplant from Washington State to Washington D.C., and there are no more Seattle SuperSonics. They were actually horrible meteor accident, and they don't exist. So we've got Dwight Howard. How is that whole personal life, extracurricular activities not a thing blowing up in his face right now? If he had stuck with the Wizards, that would have been a story. You know what I'm talking about? That whole Reddit thread. And
Yeah. If he hadn't like immediately been injured after and missed the rest of the season, that definitely would have blown up.
yeah, and here we are. It's like, oh yeah, Dwight Howard yet again on another team, and nobody's talking about it. Not that I wanted him on the Wizards, but good God. So he's going to get minutes. JaVale McGee's going to get minutes. This is Dwight Howard, yet another year older, essentially playing a style of play that just does not work well and is not going to play well with Davis and LeBron James, because he's not going to get the ball in his hands. I prefer JaVale McGee because I think he'll at least be smart enough to take stuff in the flow of the game. He won't be a ball stopper, and he's more adaptable to the garbage buckets, meaning no plays drawn for him, than Howard is. I know you're a fan of Howard's playing style from time to time, or DFS abilities. How are you splitting this duo here? Because they're going to be splitting 48 minutes at the center position, is my guess.
Probably a little less than 48, but most of it, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think that
because Davis will play a little bit. Yeah.
I would expect him to go a little bit smaller, at least sometimes. But I think that really what I was saying about the wings, you can apply to the centers too. McGee's my preferred option. He averaged 1.2 points per minute last year. Howard was at 1.04. Howard, you don't really know what you're getting health-wise from him ever. And McGee, I think that he's just the better per minute producer at this point. I don't have a ton of confidence in either one, but I would expect that McGee probably gets the slight advantage in minutes, and I think he's the more productive player. So I would give him the edge. But with it being a 2-game slate, if you're playing tournaments, and obviously I have no idea what ownership's going to look like right now. If one of these guys is getting substantially higher projected ownership than the other, I think they're close enough that you could pivot to the lower owned one.
All right, our final team, but no less easy to solve this puzzle. So Paul George is going to miss at least the first 10 games based upon his rehabilitation timeline from his double shoulder surgeries, surgery for each shoulder. So we've got newcomer Kawhi Leonard. He is, he was phenomenal last year, Adam. He was some untimely injuries for Golden State, but they won the title, Toronto. You can't take that away from him. You've got him. You've got Lou Williams still coming off the bench. I believe it's going to be both Williams and Harrell coming off the bench. I think they're going to start Pat Beverly and Zubac. I don't know who else is going to start. I've seen some people thinking it's going to be JaMychal Green, but I've seen other people saying he's going to come off the bench. It doesn't really matter for these guys because they've done a phenomenal job of being fantasy relevant and spreading their guys out, their usage out. And this is like the most DFS friendly team there is, Adam, because their guys are just productive every damn night. They don't always blow up, but they have some amazing games, and here's a better way. They don't have bad games. And Zubac is in that mix. JaMychal Green had some moments, and those guys are super cheap. Beverly is going to be doing a lot of the facilitating when he's out there, and he's not afraid to drive to the hoop. I like this team, but I don't know which guy I want to play from this whole team. If you had to pick a guy, for me, it's Zubac just because he's cheap.
If I had to pick one guy from the Clippers to play?
Yeah, point per dollar. Well, you're going to pick Kawhi if it's raw, but if you're looking point per dollar.
Kawhi.
Okay. So
true point per dollar would be one of the 3K guys, sub 5K guys, just because they'll probably do better point per dollar. But
I think enough. One of their 7 rotation guys at their consistent prices across the various sites, it would be Kawhi for you.
I don't think that this Clippers team is going to be as fantasy friendly as they were last year, as far just because they have more bodies. They have Kawhi now. Obviously, they'll have George back sooner than later, and that'll mess things up even more. But last year it was a little bit easier with the exception of at times their center rotation, to pinpoint exactly who was playing and who was going to get all the minutes. I think it's conceivable that like nobody in this game plays over 30 minutes except for Kawhi or nobody on this team. Because they just have so many interchangeable bodies. Like to your point, Lou Williams is a great per minute guy. Montrezl Harrell's a great per minute guy. Zubats can be productive as well. Green's really cheap. I agree with all of that. It's just that I don't look at any of those guys and say like, oh yeah, I'm really confident they're playing 33 minutes.
Yeah, and that's what's going to make it tricky. So would this be, of the 4 teams we have in action, this is when you're looking at your 150 lineups that you'll be playing in the opening night contest, is this the one that you're going to try to feather through a bunch of these players just because it's harder to make a stand?
Yeah, I think my approach will be kind of similar to what I was talking about with the Lakers, but I have more interest in the Clippers just because I think that their guys are more productive on a per minute basis across the board. Like you take JaMychal Green at 3,800, you compare him to, like a $4,100 Avery Bradley or KCP. I think Green's a little bit better fantasy player. I think Zubats is comparable to the centers on the Lakers. I would put him a little bit behind JaVale, but he's certainly in the mix there. But like, guys like Williams and Harrell, the Lakers don't really have that mid-range to go to like the Clippers do. But the Lakers, you're either taking LeBron, you're taking Davis, or you're taking a shot on someone who may play 20 minutes or may play 28 minutes. You don't really know. With the Clippers, you have that mid-range where you have Harrell, you have Williams, guys that you can expect to play, 26 to 28 minutes and give you greater than a point per minute production.
All right, let's talk about a couple fun things. The Fred Van Elite Fan Club. Yes, we will be doing that. I may change up the different sites that we do it on, but we'll just stick to DraftKings for the time being. I'm going to create a contest with 100 people in it. It's going to be $1 if you win that contest and you have an Awesemo avatar. You will win 1 free month of Awesemo premium content. That is the opening night prize. We're going to change up the prizes and have some different fun here, but the key is you got to win it and you got to have an Awesemo avatar. Where can you get an Awesemo avatar? Well, I'm glad you asked. If you go to awesemo.com, far right of the menu button, there is an item drop down called social. If you pick the Awesemo avatar, you can download an avatar there, and you can also find out what other prizes you can win for different sports and contests. But this one is mine. So this is the Fred Van Elite. We're doing a 1 month of premium NBA. Oh, hell, we'll do premium all access. There's my gift to you guys for this first one. I want to talk about some of the new offerings that we have here. We listen, we hear you. We're keeping the shows in front of the paywall, but you know what? You're going to get a lot more of Alex Awesemo himself behind the paywall. So the projections this year, those are going to be Alex's personal projections, like we use for hockey, like we use for football this year, like we use for baseball. These are his. Last year, it was a compilation of a variety of people that had input on it, Josh and Adam, etc. But these are going to be his. We also have the Awesemo Premium blog. So throughout the day, this is just for subscribers. You're going to have access to his blog where he's going to post in quick thoughts as we get breaking news throughout the day for NBA. And once we get about 2 weeks into the season, that is going to be constant. You're also going to get a premium video. I think that'll be 4 or 5 days a week. It'll be with Alex. And then it'll be a variety of the other contributors chipping in. You'll get some Adam, some Laffy. I may end up doing it. Josh Engelman will be on it. And Awesemo's going to go over and talk about how he's approaching the slate. So he's not going to be in front of the paywall. He's going to be behind the paywall. So if you guys watched any of our baseball stuff or football stuff, he's giving you the goods. We also have a team survey, which is where we're going to be talking about who we think the biggest busts are, who thinks are key players in cash, who's our good contrarian plays, etc. So we're going to have the Team Awesemo survey that will be available to subscribers. And then we also have the top player probability. So this is something that Alex has done a lot of extensive research on himself, and this is what he uses, but he is going to be giving that out. We've done that for Showdown Slate, guys. We did it for baseball, the team stacks. We've are going to do it for individual players here for basketball, but it's going to talk about their highest likelihood of being the best player per night from a perspective point per dollar. So those are all new features that we have in addition to our existing baseline of stuff. We've got the popularity projections. You guys call them ownership. I call them popularity. We've got the deep dive article series. That's Monday through Saturday, alternating days with Adam and Laffy. You get a couple cheat sheets. I think will be free this year. Those will be myself and Josh Engelman will be doing those. And then you'll get a couple free articles from Chris Spags, and you'll get one from me on most days where there are at least 4 or 5 games. So that's everything we're giving to you. Definitely check it out. You can use the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, to get 50% off any 1 week packet, probably 1 month package. And then we also, if you want to sign up for the full season, we have the use the promo code EARLYBIRD-NBA, and I believe that gives you $100 off the season long package. That code is going to go away relatively soon, but you can use that one for the time being. With that, we're going to get on out of here. Any final thoughts, Adam?
No, I'll be back with Josh, I think, at 9:30, and then I'll have the deeper dive show with Lofty tomorrow too.
There you go. And I believe Tuesday. So it's your day to write the article?
No.
No.
Until football ends, I have the Monday, Wednesday, Friday this year.
Gotcha. There you go. Lofty's smartening up, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if he was even aware of it. Josh informed me, and I asked him how much Lofty had paid him.
We'll see. I'm gonna have to tune into their podcast tomorrow and hear Lofty taking his victory lap. So you get the Early Bird podcast. That'll be 6 days a week. Now that we've got daily sports back, so that'll be Adam and myself Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and then you'll get Lofty and Dan Strafford on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the originators of the best DFS podcast in the land through 3 different sites. They have been phenomenal. But with that, we're going to get on out of here. Again, jump in there, follow Adam over there on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMACDFS, and of course, it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.